The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
An airport update on Triad Today. Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the beautiful Senior Botanical Gardens in Curtisville. We'll tell you more about them later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up. We'll get into all sorts of controversial topics with them, so stay tuned for that. For now, we want to start out with a gentleman who just this second flew into the garden. I'm kidding around. Kevin Baker, Executive Director of Piedmont Triad International Airport. Good to see you again, sir.
You too, Jim. Good morning.
Now, before we look ahead to things going on, I want to look back for just a second because I've been hearing on the news and everything about this event you held, the run on the runway. Now, what was that about and how did it go?
Yeah, I think since 2010 or so, we've been doing this event, and all of the proceeds of it go to charity. And for the last at least 10 years or so, it's been going to the food banks of the Triad, the three large food banks of the Triad. It's quietly become one of the biggest fundraisers in the community. As folks get to come out, especially the running community, it's something different because where they're running actually
right
on a runway.
Right.
And it's all for a very good reason, and again, we raised over $180,000 for those food banks at this particular
in
event.
one day on that event?
One day, yeah. And, again, that makes it one of the bigger events in the whole community. So I would encourage, we'll do it every year. So hope your viewers will come on out and run.
Is it always the same time of year, like in this time frame?
It has moved from time to time, but it will be in the March time frame again next year.
Okay. Now, one other thing that just happened I want to ask you about, because this is important. You had an emergency drill there, I think, last week, if I'm not incorrect about that. How did that go, and why is that so important to not just the airport, but to the region?
Well, first of all, every airport is required to do one of these once a year. In every third year, it has to be a full-scale live drill with actors, and you're actually out on site, et cetera. The other ones are done in a room in a sort of a tabletop exercise. It's really important because, we require help from mutual aid providers, from firefighters and police and ambulances, obviously from all of the communities around us. And this gives all of those team members an opportunity to work together and consider a real incident and see where we can learn some lessons, in a dramatized version.
Yeah, and it's realistic, though.
It's very realistic. We have actors, they have costumes on, they have blood, they have all sorts of stuff that make it look like a real.
Checking them out, you're looking at response times and cooperation, all that. I think that's great. All right. Now, what's going on with Boom Supersonic? I read something in the paper the other day about a test.
Yeah, so they've had two really big milestones here over the last, 4 to 6 weeks. The first was that they successfully flew their XB-1 demonstrator airplane. Now, that's not the plane that they'll be manufacturing here, but it's a demonstrator airplane, and it is, number one, it demonstrates that they can build a plane that's going to fly, and it's the one that they will. Their second big announcement is that they've gotten approval from the FAA to fly it to supersonic speeds. And so they're going to be able to use that and flying it at those speeds to be able to get data, get technical information, et cetera, that they're going to need to build the bigger airplane.
Now, I happen to know that the airport, under your leadership, made a recent, I think it was for $2 million for a piece of land or something. Now, what was that about, and how does that fit in with your overall land acquisition plan?
Yeah, it was, I wouldn't make it sound small, but it's just another piece of land that we have acquired. It goes back to, we've talked before about the fact that this airport's role in the state and really in the U.S. in terms of its function really focuses on this aerospace industry and the employment that comes from that. And obviously our role as a passenger service place as well. But, for the former of those two items, the aerospace industry, you need a lot of space. And we need to be able to make sure that we're assembling land, that we identify where we need land, what size that land might need to be, and then begin assembling it. And it's something that takes time. Obviously.
Yeah, it does take time because you got to have it ready to go. If somebody comes in, there's a prospect, something you want to do. Oh,
that's
I
right.
know what I want to do before time runs out. I want to get you to get a quick plug, for Textron and Cessna, because we talk about Honda, we talk about HAECO and all this stuff you and I mentioned before. Textron and Cessna, pretty important.
Yeah, so Cessna located one of its service centers back in 1990, I think it was, on the airport. One of the first aerospace companies that located on the airport and been here a long time, and they're employing about 150 people, I think it is. Textron took over Cessna in later years. But right now I think it's their second busiest service center in their whole system. So a very important part of the airport and a long-term important tenant of ours.
Good tenant. All right, up on screen, flyfrompti.com for all sorts of information, flyfrompti.com. Kevin, get back on that plane, get on the airstrip here at the Garden, and go on back.
Out of here.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
Spartans are the teachers, artists, nurses, scientists, and leaders who build our communities.
Back now on Triad Today, I always like to spend a few minutes with the good folks at Mountain Valley Hospice. They do great work for so many people, and we have two very special guests with us to talk about something they're doing that's a really interesting project. On my right is Leanne Groves. She's Senior Vice President of Philanthropy for Mountain Valley Hospice. Kelly Jennings is also here with us. She's manager of something called the Humble Hare, H-A-R-E. She'll tell you about that in a minute. Welcome, ladies. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Leanne, let me start with you. You're still pretty new at your position, so tell us about your role quickly. What do you do?
Well, I raise money. We have goals and objectives at Mountain Valley, and I have to make sure those are fulfilled. So whether it's through grant applications or stewarding our donors and soliciting donations.
And people are thinking, wait a minute, Leanne, it's like you're running a campaign or something. But the thing is that people forget you're nonprofit. You're not like some, I'm not going to name them, but there are some hospices that are for profit. If you don't have the money, then you need the services, you need the hospice care, they'll turn you away. You guys don't.
We absolutely do not. And as a matter of fact, with our charity care, we spent over $450,000 in charity care this past year. $25,000 of it was for two medical devices for children for pediatric cancer.
So that's why these donations, everything are so important.
Absolutely.
Kelly, let me switch over to you. Let's talk about the Humble Hare.
Humble Hare.
What is that?
It is a trendy thrift store, and we have one in Mount Airy, and we also have one in Sparta, hoping to have more eventually. We take donations of pre-loved, gently used items, 10 to 5, Monday through Saturday, both stores.
Now, what sells the best in those stores?
Gosh, furniture and home decor.
Well, then that leads me to this question. I'm always curious about, are there pickup services, number one? Like if I say, I got a big bedroom suite, I can't just haul that down in my compact car. Do y'all help with that?
Absolutely. We pick up every Thursday, both stores, and we also deliver if you do pick up a big purchase.
Now, the Humble Hare, in both of these locations, do you have volunteers that sort of man the stores, or what? Do you need volunteers? Tell me about that.
Yes, we currently have 15 volunteers at the Mount Airy store.
Wow.
Yes, and 5 volunteers at the Sparta store. Most are retired and just there because something has impacted their heart at some point.
Absolutely.
So they do everything. We could not run the store without them.
Yeah, and on this volunteer theme, I know we didn't rehearse this, Leanne, but of course, with my parents both, going through hospice, it meant a lot to me to have those services available. Volunteers, very important, not just to help run Humble Hare. Volunteers are important for hospice services, right?
Absolutely. They're critical. We are always looking for wonderful volunteers to help us because honestly, we couldn't do the things that we do, the great things that we do without volunteers in our organization.
I'm going to ask both of you the same question since we're sort of here together and ask you a personal question real quick. What's gratifying to you about what you do? And I'll start with you.
What's gratifying about what I do is I know at the end of the day, I have made a difference in the lives of those who we serve, whether it's the patient or the family member. And I can truly say at the end of the day, it might be multiple times I know I've made a difference when I know that a lot of friends of mine in different professions, they can't really walk away from that saying the same thing. But I truly feel it in my heart. My father passed away in hospice. My best friend from college passed away at the Waltz Hospice House. So it's a part of who I am.
And same question.
I'm on a different spectrum of it because I'm in the retail side of it, right. But we see customers and the same repeat customers all the time. We know them by name. We love them. we hear the stories.
Yeah.
So we laugh, we cry, we hug, we tell customers we love them. They tell us they love us.
Yeah.
So
It's just great what y'all do individually and collectively, and I appreciate it so much. Let me put up something here. The Humble here, let me remind folks, 705 West Pine Street in Mount Airy, 38 East Cheek Street in Sparta, and the general website you can go to is mtnvalleyhospice.org, which is also up on screen. Thanks for everything you do, girls.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today is now streaming on WFMY Plus, available free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Back now on Triad Today, let's talk about gardens, which is kind of a, it's significant because we're here at the garden. But we're going to talk about different kinds of gardens. And we have two very special guests with us. Right now, we have Ebony Lewis. She's Assistant Director of Area Agency on Aging for Piedmont Triad Regional Council, and Luna Williams, Aging Program Planner for Piedmont Triad Regional Council. Good to see you, ladies. How you doing?
good.
To see you as well.
Ebony, I'm going to start with you for just a minute, just in case people don't know or they've just moved in the area. What's the mission of PTRC anyway?
Yeah, the mission of Piedmont Triad Regional Council is to improve the lives of our community through regional creative solutions. And one way we do this is through our programs, including community development, criminal justice, regional planning, workforce development, and area agency on aging.
Yeah, the municipalities and various agencies, everybody really rely a lot on the data and the services and things that you guys put forth. You play it's kind of behind the scenes sometimes, but I really appreciate what you do with that. Let me switch over to you, because I talked about the garden a minute ago. And, there's this community garden that y'all emailed me about. So tell me about the community gardens and the role that your agency plays in that.
Witnessing the success of similar projects locally has sparked an initiative for community gardens. So the Piedmont Area Agency on Aging is exploring and envisioning a network of community gardens here in the Triad.
So not just one, but a whole network of them.
Yes. We serve a 12-county region, and so we are exploring and envisioning community gardens, and staff like myself will spearhead these projects. Just envision green spaces where seniors can come together and engage socially. And it's just not merely cultivating gardens, but it's cultivating relationships and building lasting communities.
Why is that so important? I mean, I know there are gardens around that people can go and see like this one. Why is it so important for senior citizens to have that kind of connection? Because it sounds to me what you're saying is it's not just something neat to have, but it can have effect on them physically, emotionally, socially, whatever. Why tell me about that.
So, how this came about. I attended the North Carolina Association on Aging state conference, and I attended a presentation, Gardening for Life. Okay. And the presenter, Tori Blackmar, she is the program planner there for Garner Senior Center. And this presentation was just so engaging and informative, and I could just see community gardens expanding in the Triad.
You could envision it, how it would be down here, because that was something kind of new. I hadn't heard about what they were doing either. So that sort of, blew your mind there and said, let's do it down here.
So I couldn't wait to get back and bring the information to the Area Agency on Aging. And here we are now talking about community gardens. And I'll give you an example. In Winston-Salem, Sheila Wilson, she is the founder of Sister Girls Gardening, and she started six years ago. And just this weekend, she posted on Facebook where they gave away over 200 tomato plants.
Wow.
So that's huge, and that's transformative. And this is why we're excited about community garden. So gardening is no longer the thing of the past. Gardening is back, it's now, and community gardens are here to stay. So this is why we're excited at the Area Agency on Aging.
Golly, I tell you what, Ebony, we could just about make a commercial out of that.
I know.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Very quickly, you get some partnerships working on this?
Well, we are in the exploration stage, but we are seeking community organizations that share similar visions as ours, that foster senior overall well-being to work with us. We are asking viewers to just help us as we search for locations, long-term volunteers, avid gardeners, beginning gardeners, to help us create these green spaces. And one of the big things about community garden, it is a creative solution. So at Piedmont Triad Regional Council, we're all about creating regional solutions. So community gardens are solutions that help seniors combat isolation, physical and cognitive decline, and depression. So that's why we are so into community gardens and how it's just going to help the overall well-being of senior adults.
I think that's great. Up on screen, ptrc.org. Check it out for more information. Ebony and Luna, thanks for all you're doing for so many people.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
North Carolina's economy is growing, bringing new businesses and opportunities. The need for electricity is growing too. At Duke Energy, we're meeting the challenge, providing even more electricity that's cleaner, reliable, and that stays affordable. We're getting out of coal and reinvesting in our communities with a diverse, balanced mix of energy sources and making targeted upgrades to the grid so that North Carolina can thrive in a smarter energy future.
Back now on Triad Today. I can't think of anything much more important than education and helping kids and being innovative, and all that comes into play with this guest who's been with us before. We're so glad to see him back again. Chris Huntley is Director of Workforce Initiatives for Shift Ed, and you'll see his boss, Wendy, on the show a little bit later on the roundtable. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
You sent me an email one day about this, something called the Mobile Innovation Lab. What is it? Who did you team up with to do it? What's the background on it? Who does it serve? Give me the whole spiel.
The Mobile Innovation Lab is basically our mobile makerspace on wheels. It was outfitted with our partners at Carolina Thomas here in Greensboro, North Carolina, as well as Southern Transit Authority, or Accessory, in High Point. So they completely gutted the bus for us, put the technology in it, from Wi-Fi to the generator, to actually allow us to go out to the communities and the schools to do the work that we're doing now with it.
Right. And when you say go out to the schools, I know that a lot of your focus initially was on high school students, getting them prepared for college, but I also know that you work with middle school students. And so now who does this mobile innovation lab really serve?
This serves now the whole community, believe it or not. We started in middle school, and now I'm proud to say that we've been at several high school events, from career and technical education, career fairs, job fairs, as well as our middle school, of course, which is where it was birthed, and even now down into elementary school doing various STEM activities there as well.
Yeah, when we talk about STEM or STEAM, everybody has a different term for it: science, technology, engineering, math, that kind of thing. How do you use this lab to get young kids exposed to these things, which I guess you're hoping maybe eventually they'll go into these kind of careers? But what is going into that lab? What do they do inside the mobile lab that maybe gets them going?
So depending on where we're going, that's always the first question, is the who, what, where, and how long do we have? For example, if we're doing things with elementary, we're really working on the foundational things of that STEAM or STEM. I like STEAM because I feel like that art side goes into every part of it.
Absolutely.
The design aspects. So
yeah, it's multidisciplinary, so you got everything.
You're correct. And so we actually are available to kind of make that activity based off the age and those North Carolina course of study requirements. We work with our Guilford County School officials to make sure that we're not only adding value and asset to what they're doing, but something that they can build on when we leave.
But you're probably also tailoring what's going on inside there to what's going to be needed in the actual careers on the outside, right?
Yes, we are exposing them to various careers such as the CNC milling, the manufacturing, from the electricity and textile side of things. You name it. We're trying to really give them an opportunity to see the options that are there, not only in those careers, but locally as well.
What kind of feedback do you get from students, teachers, parents, whoever? I mean, what are you hearing?
The feedback is incredible. We are almost now invited to come out anytime they're having any event. The touch points are incredible. The parents love it because the students didn't get a chance to really know or see some of the things that we're exposing them to. The schools love it because it's giving them opportunity to do some things that perhaps were maybe not in the budget, maybe not in the time.
Right.
It's a very tight calendar with our GCS calendar. So sometimes the things that, as I say, we as a former educator want to do, we don't have time to do, we don't have the resources to do. So it's very impactful, and I'm very passionate and thankful that I'm allowed to do the things that I do.
I bet. And now what kind of success, how are you going to measure how effective this is? I know you're getting great feedback. You're doing great stuff in there. The kids learn a lot by going into the lab, the mobile lab. How are you going to measure whether you're making a difference?
So for us, everything, as you probably know about Shift Ed, is very deliberate, very, with a purpose and a focus. So the
results oriented.
Correct. So those results that we see are typically when students are wanting to sign up for some of those choice or magnet schools at GCS that they have. They have STEM schools, they have schools for the arts, they have various things that kind of feed into that STEAM path. So seeing some of those students not only want to go to some of these different schools, but actually take courses, partner with various organizations and businesses to do STEM camps. We're seeing a real connection across the board with this particular pathway.
So you get kind of immediate results there because you sort of see that line going to that, which then leads to a career.
Correct.
I'll tell you what, that's great, Chris. Up on screen, shifted.org, shifted.org, which that organization does great things. It helps with scholarships and everything for high school kids. Please check that out. Chris, thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at Cedar Botanical Garden. Check out the garden, the website. You can rent the facility, see everything that's blooming. We got 3 people that are blooming right now with me. Next to me on the right, but always political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist. Our special guest today, Wendy Poteet, who's been with us before. We love Wendy. She's the president and CEO of Shift Ed. And Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. All right, guys. Fearing that the federal government isn't doing anything to stop illegal immigration, the governor of Ohio recently enacted a new law making it a crime for undocumented person to enter the state. Would you like to see North Carolina do a similar law? Ogie.
Like there's so many illegal immigrants in Iowa, for all of Iowa.
Yeah.
How?
That's sort of, I don't know why she's doing it, but all right.
Just racism. You know why she's doing it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to see it. We should probably figure out how to make immigration process easier and faster for people.
Keith, make it a crime in North Carolina to come in the state?
No, but make it a crime for people to move into Iowa.
They may have that already. This week, the Supreme Court is hearing arguments over whether cities can fine homeless people for sleeping outdoors. Those in favor of citation say homeless encampments harbor illegal drug traffic and other crimes. Now, civil rights activists say it's unconstitutional to fine someone who has nowhere else to go but to sleep outside. Guys and gals, should homeless people be fined for sleeping outdoors? Ogies.
So let me get this straight. They're homeless, so you fine them.
Right.
Even though they don't have any money.
That's correct.
That is dumb.
Yeah.
That is
Well,
just
I'm just saying what they're doing. Wendy,
I know what they're
Wendy,
doing.
Can you make any sense out of this?
No, like let's figure out how to think about affordable housing, health, mental health care. Like let's address the systemic issue, not the issue of the guy sleeping on the sidewalk in front of your door.
Absolutely. Keith, what do you think?
I think they got better things to do. If you're homeless, that means you have no home, which means you have no money, which means most of the time you're mentally ill, you're dealing with drugs. So it's a cycle. So why would you find somebody instead of absolutely finding them a place to stay?
All right. I know all this is politics, but it's just interesting stuff. In a bill signed last week, Florida public schools will soon have the option of allowing volunteer chaplains to counsel students. The chaplains will provide support services and programs to the students. Now, are you guys okay with a member of the clergy going into public schools to provide counseling? Okay.
I am, Jim, believe it or not. I know a couple of chaplains, and they're not like hoop hallelujah evangelical. They're not going in there, trying to convert people. They're trying to help people. And not mandatory either.
All right, Wendy, as somebody who runs an educational organization and helps students, thousands of students all the time, is this a good idea to have chaplains going into schools?
I'm a firm believer in separation of church and state. I think it's a slippery slope when you start to think about different religions, and Ogie's friend might not do it, but somebody else might, and you look to have some kind of discrimination against different religions.
So you'd be more in favor of the traditional thing, like more high school counselors or middle school social workers?
Yes.
All right, Keith, what do you think?
I think most of the time, if they're non-denominational, if they're coming in to provide some type of religious support or counseling, regardless of what your religious is, I think it would be okay. But just one specific religion, I think that's pretty tough.
All right, lawmakers in Connecticut are hoping to lure businesses away from North Carolina if Mark Robinson is elected governor. Now, I don't want to get into specifics of his politics, but they just believe that it'll be divisive for the state. Is there a chance that if he were elected, or somebody like him, could he be so divisive that we lose billions of dollars like we did with the bathroom bill? Any fear of that, Ogie?
Absolutely, there's a fear of it, and it won't just be Connecticut. Most states will say, well, do you want to really live in this state with Mark Robinson as your governor? Come on down.
Can the divisive rhetoric lose its money, Wendy?
I think it can, but I think the question is probably the question that people should be asking themselves before they go into the ballot box.
Right.
If the answer is yes for you, you probably shouldn't vote.
Chiefs.
I think that politicians can lose support in the state, so it makes a huge difference.
All right, 16 states have now joined what's called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. I want to get that right. That aims to end the Electoral College. 16 states already. They believe that a candidate should only be elected president by the popular vote. Very quickly, would you like to see North Carolina join this compact, and what are the chances of it, Ogie?
Yes, I've been saying it for years. I really would, but the chances are very, very slim of it happening in our lifetime.
Wendy?
Ogie and I agree. Yes, and I don't think it'll happen, but if it did, it would have some huge implications politically.
Should we join that compact?
We should, but you're not going to be able to take power away from states.
Right.
They're just not going to do it. So
all right,
it's not going to happen.
So, and try to get all 50 states to do it, because Texas may secede.
Yeah. And Iowa.
Okay, Iowa. All right, finally, a Kansas bakery owner mistakenly left her diamond ring fall in the cookie batter, and now she's calling for anyone who finds the ring in their cookie to return it. Guys and gals, if you bought a cookie with a diamond ring in it, would you return the ring to the bakery, or would you keep it, Ogie?
Well, it depends. I mean, if she was a nice, honest person, just asking, please, if you find it. I mean, this meant a lot to me. It really did. And was honest about it and humble. I probably would return.
Wendy?
Yeah.
I'd immediately take it back. I haven't done well with diamond rings in my past.
Keith, would you take the ring back?
Well, let me think about that. Couldn't know what the size of the ring is.
Yeah, Keith paid good money for that.
I paid good money for that cookie.
All right, well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Archaeologists now say that thousands of years ago, men were entertained by foxes. Sounds good to me, said Leonardo DiCaprio. See, Bateson's young. Never mind.
And then sends them to Iowa.
Yeah, I think it's moving to Iowa. We're all moving to Iowa. All right, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.